What's going on, everybody? We are the Homie Trinity. We are here to actually bring you our, I guess you can say, the season recap. We're going to recap the last two episodes, episode 8 and 9 of The Last of Us, and kind of jump into what we think might be coming up the road. I mean, I know one of us kind of knows, the other two of us are dumb to the fact, you know what I'm saying? But episode 8 started off, man, and it was kind of ill, man, because the tides have kind of changed. You know what I'm saying? Joel is now, all messed up, and Ren, just because she is your goddaughter, I do need to tell you that when Lily did watch the episode, man, when he got hit with the bat, he pulled the bat out. She goes, "Why are you doing that? I've watched enough medical shows on TV to know that you're supposed to leave the bat in."
Can't pull that out.
No, you can't pull that out.
Can't.
But it kind of it started off, man, in he's still in bad shape, man, and I've never felt. I'll be honest with you, just kind of back up a little bit. I've never felt more cold than I did when they showed the town on the water with the mountains in the background before they went into where they were having their church service. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, just looking at it, man, I was just like, man, everything about that just looks
creepy.
Cold.
It just looks miserable. You know what I'm saying? So, but it started off, man, we get introduced to a new villain, if you would, in episode 8. And it's kind of one of those things, man, where when David, we find out his name after the fact is David. When David is talking to everybody that's actually in the camp with him, we find out a little bit about him in regards to the fact that he is, in fact, preaching the word and things like that. And, I think that it's been kind of neat, man, where the very first episode, of course, everything that happened, and then immediately you get into the QZ in Boston. You get to see what that faction of people lived like. And then you kind of moved on a little bit and you got to see what everybody lived like in Kansas City. And then you kind of got to see a little snippet of what two people that are so far away from everything that's going on, how they're living their life. And you get to see a little bit of how, these people are working. And I thought it's interesting how they've attacked that dynamic, if you would, of showing you how different factions of people that have come together during this issue, during the apocalypse, how they're actually dealing with it. And this was the religious zealot, if you would, that we found out later on in that episode that he wound up being. But he's reading to them from Revelations, and I thought it was kind of funny, man. Like, I actually wanted to read what it said, and the verse that he actually ended with, the very next verse says, "But the cowardly, the unbelieving," is Revelation 21 verse 8. "But the cowardly, the unbelieving, the vile, the murderers, the sexually immoral, those who practice the magic arts, the idolaters, and all the liars, they will be consigned to the fiery lake of burning sulfur in the second death." And when I read that, and actually knowing what happened in the episode itself, I was like, dude just prophesied his own death.
Got burned up.
But I thought that, Ellie has slowly but surely, and we've talked about her being a knucklehead teenager a bunch of times in our shows, in our recaps. And she now has a certain responsibility because Joel just can't. I mean, he's laid up on that dirty mattress, you know what I'm saying, with this wound in his side. And so she goes off and she goes to try to hunt. And she now has taken on that role. And Ren, you actually had touched on it before about how we were getting ready to see Ellie in action, you know what I'm saying, while she actually was dealing with everything that was going on with Joel. She kills the deer, comes across, David and his partner in the woods, and she's immediately got the drop on him, you know what I'm saying? They drop their weapons. They decide to make a trade for the deer meat. They send him back to go and get some medicine. In the process, David and Ellie kind of meet with one another. We find out that he used to be a math teacher or something along those lines. I don't mean no harm. I wouldn't want that son of a bitch teaching my kids. But it's one of those things, man, where you start to see she's questioning based off of everything that she's been through, whether or not she should trust him or not. You know what I'm saying? And then it winds up that she gets the medicine. She goes back and look, I don't mean no harm. I love the both of y'all, but I wouldn't know where to give y'all a shot of penicillin. How she knew to go right into the wound, you know what I'm saying?
But that's not right. That's not right. That's not when you give penicillin.
I don't know the science. Like I'm saying, like that episode, it was almost to the T like the game. Like it was very little deviation from the game. Like, even the dialogue was just almost spot on. And you get to see, like I said, she's taking on the caregiver role. I don't mean no harm, yo. Like we were in the DZ yesterday playing Division, and Cats got too close, and Felix is like, "Yo, don't kill him." I'm like, "Yo, he too close. I don't know his intention." That's on the video. Never mind if this is real life. You hear me? Like if I'm out in the woods and I'm trying to survive, and it's extreme conditions, and I see two strangers, they getting popped. Sorry, folks. Somebody's getting popped. I'm not negotiating. I'm not having a conversation with you. Get out of my way. Give me my deer, and I'm gonna drive this joint back to home base. So you could just see how sinister Boy is the entire time. Like his tone is very calm, and it's very manipulative. I
just need 10 minutes of your time.
Right, like just let me just talk to you. That just sounds like a creeper. That's like, hey kids, I got a puppy. Can you help me find it? Or I got candy in the truck. You know, if you help me with the dog, I'll give you a Snicker bar. You don't want to be around strangers, young people. But
pop that dude twice.
Yeah, he should have got wrecked. So then, like I told you the episode before when I was on, because I had the little hiatus, y'all was about to be shocked by something. I was like, yo, something's coming. Y'all are not gonna be prepared for it. So I'm more curious about, like, how did you feel when you realized what they were eating? Because we know the dude is an evil zealot. We know he's almost a pedophile at this point. We know he's a cult leader and he's brainwashing people. And it's just another example of how religion is distorted, like all kind of stuff through history. Like how many times in history have we heard somebody use religion as a way to annihilate a mass group of people or manipulate them to do something sinister? So I'm more concerned now with what your two opinions or reaction was when you realized that the beef stew was.
So no, when I'll let E go first. When did you, not when you realized, when did you think that they were eating human flesh? When did you think?
So for me, man, like there was a couple of telltale signs that kind of led me to believe that something was kind of off. First, you see a whole bunch of people, and look, in all fairness, like I said, the area that they were living in, it looked like it sucked. But when they started showing people, and you know, they got the red noses and, you know, the little speck, and the eyes are kind of sunken in, I was just like, they're sick. And then they went outside, and it was David and his partner, you know what I'm saying? He was just like, how much do we have left? He was like, we have this in deer, we have this in venison, we have this in rabbit. And I was just like, bro, what else are y'all doing? But I thought that when they started focusing in on like the meat being transferred from here into the pot, and then from the pot into the thing, and then it's too cold to dig a hole to put your daddy in. Your daddy was dinner. I mean, I kind of knew early on, man, that something was kind of off, you know what I'm saying? And as they started going further and further into the show, of course, you find out, you know what I'm saying, that they're cannibals. But, you know, like this dude, he just, I don't know, man. Like, I want to know at what point in time, how desperate do you have to be to literally sit there and go, I ain't seen a deer in months. I'm hungry. Go murk old boy, string him up in the daggone barn, let him drain, serve that backstrap on the grill. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't know, man. So kind of early on, I had my suspicions, but it wasn't until later on that, you know, the suspicions were in fact confirmed.
Do you think that the people knew they were eating other people?
When he was sitting down talking to Ellie later on, he said that him and old boy were the only two that knew. And I'm sorry, man. I think that some people had suspicions, but this kind of goes back to what you were saying before in regards to the religious portion of it. They were going to follow him regardless.
Hella hot water. Like
he could have told them it was unicorn meat, and they would have believed that they found and killed a unicorn. You know what I'm saying? So You live that close to the water, dude, though, and when you list what you had to eat, the only thing that you can discuss is venison and you know, like y'all ain't got no fish
over and over again.
You ain't got no
Like,
fish.
I kept asking about it, and you said the facial expressions were kind of off. Like when lady was making it, she was like, "What is this?" I think she had an idea. Like, this don't look like any deer I've seen. I know
right in that pot though.
But that's desperation. How, like you said, how desperate do you have to be? To be like, this is it, and I'm gonna survive. That's why I said from the very beginning when we started this, just shoot me in the face. I don't even want to have these like debates within myself. I don't want these internal struggles, dog. Like, just take me out, put me out of my.
And that was me. Was like when like you said, when David and his boy was outside in the snow, and he was like, "What we got left?" He was like, "Deer, you know, venison, you know, whatever, blah blah blah." And then like they went hunting, and then they came back. But before they came back with the deer, you seen them cooking, and old boy dropped the bucket in front of the
and he looked questionable.
Yeah, and she was like, "What is this?" And he was like, venison. And I was like, that looks a lot like some Homian flesh, you know, like some human flesh. I was like, that ain't. I was like, and like I told you, E, I was like, I didn't see in the show where Joel walked into the. I think it was Joel walked into the.
At the end.
Yeah, walked into the garage and saw the people hanging. I didn't see that. Like, I don't know if I was looking away from the TV or whatever. I didn't see that part. But I knew when old boy put that white tub down the girl to put in the stew, and she was like, "What is that?" He was like, yeah, venison. I was like, that ain't no venison. I was like, that looks like that ain't dark enough. Like, that ain't red enough.
There was no
venison.
muscle.
I was like, what is that?
There was no muscle. There were no fat.
Yeah, I was like,
there was no grizzle. There was nothing that you would normally see in some sort of a steak that's been cut up.
Yeah, like you said, old girl was like, "When we gonna bury my daddy?" And he was like, "Oh, it's too cold." I was like, "It ain't never too cold to dig a hole." I was like, "Yeah, y'all eating this joker." I was like, "Old girl gonna bury her daddy in the spring, and he ain't gonna be nothing but bones." Like, I'm like, that's just wrong. It's gonna be. He died of natural causes. It's gonna be a closed casket. I was like, that's wrong. You fed her daddy to her daughter. Like, that's just wrong.
This is the worst villain I think that we've seen. Like, because there, I'm going to let somebody die or kill them, and then I'm gonna feed them to loved ones. Like, how sinister are you? And I'm not convinced Boy was a teacher. Yo. Like, who was interviewing? What administrator looked at that resume and was like, let's call this boy in, and then sit there and talk to him, look at his face and the way he spoke, and then feel a sense of urgency, like, we got to get him out of here and away from these adolescent kids. I don't buy the whole teacher aspect. They don't mention it in the game, but I think HBO took some liberties here. He strikes me as a straight up ice cream truck riding around the neighborhood creeper. No, he should not have been next to children. No, I don't think he was a teacher.
Well,
he might have worked for
the crazy part about it is that we find out kind of, you know, when David is actually talking to Ellie and James. James is the name of the lieutenant. James is actually the voice actor for Joel in the video game, gentleman by the name of Troy Baker. But I thought it was kind of crazy, man, because like he's sitting there and he's kind of like spilling the beans, and she's just like, like you could tell that she was apprehensive about even just trusting him, just based off of everything that had happened. You know what I'm saying? But once she finds out that, because once they get everything back, they send somebody to go get her. You know what I'm saying? Because word got out, you know what I'm saying, that the guy and the girl, they know where they are. Go get them. Well, go get them, because you're stringing people up in the shed. You know what I'm saying? So let's not kill any more community members. We got 2 bodies right there that we can go ahead and take care of.
See the outside folk.
Right. And the crazy part about it is here you have this teenage girl whose father figure is lying prone on a filthy mattress with a dirty blanket over top of him with his open wound. that she sewed up, you know what I'm saying, with some yarn that you can get from Joann's Fabrics.
No
And
Purell. No
no Purell, no
Purell.
nothing. She didn't even pour water over top of it. But once she sees them, she hands him a knife. She pulls the covers up, you know what I'm saying, close to his neck, and then she jumps on a horse to try and get them away from Joel. And
Don't fall asleep. Don't fall asleep.
Right. Don't you dare fall asleep. But she takes off, you know what I'm saying? And
into the mic all the time, man. You gotta emphasize this point. Yeah, like, yo, just speak, son.
I'm emphasizing it.
Yeah.
I'm emphasizing it.
You're emphasizing your weirdo shit.
she jumps on that horse, man, and she takes off, you know what I'm saying? And immediately it was bring her in alive. It wasn't kill her, it was bring her in alive, you know what I'm saying? And then find the other dude. And so once they kind of take her and they start bringing her back to the camp or whatever the case may be, now all of a sudden you see dude inside the house and he finds the little door and he starts going down the steps. And immediately the first thing I'm thinking of, man, he better not still be on that bed, because if so, it's lights out. And then this episode really didn't show. I mean, it showed a lot more about Ellie and her resolve and the things that she was going through, but you know, you kind of got a glimpse into the character that Joel became, that Tommy kind of referenced back when he met his brother, you know, the stuff that they did, you know what I'm saying, in order to be able to survive. And he, with a knife, he just started, he went to town. He started hunting. And I thought it was kind of crazy, man, because then you get this torture aspect of, where did y'all take my girl to? And he sticks that knife down an old boy's knee, you know what I'm saying? And I don't know about y'all, I winced, you know what I'm saying? But, and then he took the knife out, put it right into his daggone mouth and said, show me on this map where it is, and it better be the same place that your boy said, you know what I'm saying? So he's evidently got something about that, you know what I'm saying, from a previous episode. What's up, Ren?
So even in the game when that happened, I was concerned where, like, he puts the knife after he stabs him, like you said, so he clearly has some kind of like marker at the end of this, right? So he puts it in the mouth. He says he like point to it. If he touches the map and then shows the map to other dude, wouldn't he pick the same spot?
Exactly.
So at that point, you knew boy was dead. Like, he wasn't even going to ask the second dude. So I was like, that doesn't make any sense. It better be the same spot. It's the spot he's gonna see on the map with his blood on it. I don't understand.
And again, it's one of those things where I don't know how old boy, the first dude, marked it. You know what I'm saying? But it was just weird, man, to me, because, you know, yeah, like you said, I'm putting a bloody knife in your daggone mouth. You know what I'm saying? And you're gonna mark the thing. You know, like, where is it? It's right there. You know, I don't understand that portion of it either. But the funny part about that whole portion was, though, he got the information that he needed. And he was just like, yeah, I kind of don't need you anymore either. And he was done for it. You know what I'm saying? So then you got this dude, man, that after what, 1 injection, 2 injections with freaking penicillin, now he's able to get up and walk. I thought that was kind of funny. You know what I'm saying? But
now he got superpowers.
Right. But you move into now back into the community, and inside of the community, Ellie's basically locked up. You know what I'm saying? And this is where, Ren, what you had just said a second ago about how did this dude wind up around children? You know, he starts talking about the future that we can make together and all this other kind of stuff. And at that instant, I was just like, we're getting ready to see what she's made of. And she immediately went into, where's my advantage? Where can I get a one up, if you would, on this guy? So she lets him think that she's interested, and she starts, you know, messing with his hand and everything along those lines. And then she snap, crackles, and pops those daggone fingers, trying to reach for the daggone keys. But my favorite line was, he kept trying to ask her name, and she was just like, Ellie. He was like, what? Said, Ellie. My name's Ellie. You tell them that the little girl named Ellie broke your fucking fingers. And I was just like, yeah. But she saw that ear down there, man. And then, like I said, they came into the cut, and David and James now get her up onto the table, man. And she was, at that point in time, she was as close to dying, I think, that she has been so far in the show. You know what I'm saying? And her immediate first reaction was, because she bit old boy, I'm infected. And they show the arm, and now the lieutenant is now looking at David like
you got to be snacks.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
You about to be on the menu. You know
He
what I'm
about to be the
saying?
next Lunchable.
And all it took was that brief hesitation, man. And she took that cleaver and went straight into James's neck. You know what I'm saying? And it was just at that point now she's off. You know what I'm saying? So that whole next sequence, though, man, with the fire and her kind of like trying to avoid him and him locking the doors and all that other kind of stuff, it was this whole, you know, fiery hell. And here you have this religious individual at the beginning of the show who's now in these flames and everything along those lines, doing devilish shit, you know. And I just thought that this, you know, we've talked a couple times about the cinematography, but the way that they shot that final scene where he was chasing her around in that diner and everything that was going on around it, I thought it was great, man.
The symbolism there is crazy, you're right, because at the beginning you see him doing what appears to be like good biblical, like kind type of stuff. So almost like in the sense of like Lucifer. Lucifer was like this, you know, he was the head angel. Like, dude was supposed to be like this handsome, you know, being that God created. And then you see the fall from grace. Where do we, you know, I think that Lucifer is hell, right? So that kind of matches that fiery scene at the end. So that's a great point. That's a few changes there too. In the game, it like a lantern drops or something like that. And this one, like she throws some wood, and that which is what causes a fire. And then like back in the cage cell, she wakes up to a dude chopping somebody up. There's no ear. Like she wakes up to somebody becoming snacks. And she has to watch that. The game is very visceral, man. Like you really get a lot of gruesome crap, which is what I think they probably should have done more in this. Not that I want to see a bunch of stuff like that, but you didn't see a lot of the infected.
That was one of the biggest complaints about the differences between the show and the game itself is that the show left off a lot of the suspense that came with being chased by the infected and having to escape the infected and like different aspects in regards to that. And I understand, you know, you have material that you're using, and I'll kind of touch on this when we start talking about episode 9, but there's a segment in there where, you know, how did you get across the, you know, the map? And we lost a whole bunch of people. We'll talk about that in a second, but with that, you know, the funny part about it is that when you look at the episode as a whole, David kept referring to the community as his flock and that he was a shepherd. And what we found out throughout the entirety of the episode, by the time we got to the end, was he wasn't a shepherd. He was the wolf in sheep's clothing. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. He would have taken everybody out in that entire community if it meant that he got to survive. You know, and again, it's just the way that they showed how the different sects of people actually dealt with the apocalypse. And you get to this dude here, and it's just like, I mean, Ren, you said it, man. Out of every bad guy so far in the show, he's been the one that's actually been more terrifying than anybody else. You know what I'm saying? Taking the infected kind of out of it. Because again, he was willing to do whatever it took, and he rose to a position of power. If you were a math teacher, the last thing that you were was powerful in your position. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I mean, I hate.
Period. You ain't in power. Check your
right.
bank.
You know what I'm saying? You saw though, like at the very end, man, when Ellie finally got her hand on that cleaver and she got into that position of power. The dude was long dead. I mean, let's be honest, man. After probably that second strike, he was done for. You know what I'm saying? Oh, yeah. But a lot of her frustration, and Ren, you kind of touched on this when we talked about the mall episode. She's a fighter, you know what I'm saying? And she smashes things, and there was no doubt, zero doubt whatsoever, that this particular individual was no longer with us. And I did kind of find it funny that you got Joel creeping around the entire complex. You got your meeting place is essentially on fire right now. And when she finally actually broke out of the restaurant area or whatever it was, not a single person from the entire community was there to attempt to try and stop her from going anywhere.
They kind of knew. That's, you know, they were brainwashed. And that's actually different from the game. In the game, when she's hacking boy face up, Joel's the one that pulls her off. Like, she could have probably been there forever. So he pulls her off, but in the show, they let her walk away from it on her own. And to me, that kind of just touches on her resolve. Like, I've been traumatized. I had my moment. Let me get up and gather myself. And then Joel comes in and grabs her, almost like cautiously. Like in the game, he pulls her off too, but in this one, it's like he's almost tentative to touch her because I guess he kind of knows she's been traumatized. And then his first reaction, and you see right there, like that to him, that's his kid. The fact that he
calls her baby girl.
Right. He calls her baby girl. The last time he uttered that was, 20 years ago. So they're both extremely traumatized. That little girl, after that instance, is different. Not like it was a regular existence to begin with, but in the game, throughout game 2, she's changed and she will continue to change. And we'll talk about it when we talk about the last episode. But that moment right there, she's not the same person.
Yeah, they definitely. He once he fought through the people coming into the house and he literally went crazy and killed everybody. And this dude is literally just coming off of a dirty mattress and getting penicillin shots into a wound that just isn't theoretically helping him. But he gets up and he stumbles into this town and she breaks out. She stabs old boy in the neck with the cleaver, and then she fights David in the fire, and she stabs him and she kills him. She comes running out, and there's Joel. They're both like, what's going on here? Like, we're both thoroughly like
shocked.
Up. Yeah, we're shocked. We're thoroughly just lost. I just made my way out of this. I didn't think that Ellie did not know that Joel was going to be alive. Like, she left this dude with a knife. She done shot some penicillin in his gut. She didn't know he was going to be alive. He didn't know she was going to be alive after this. My thing is, where are the rest of the people in the town? Like, this dude had quite a few people in his flock, should we say. So where are the rest of the people,
Man, they in the windows watching. They were like, get his ass.
Yeah, they're like, get him, kill him. So
thank you, appreciate it, shorty.
But I'm just wondering where they're at now, because they obviously had they couldn't do it on their own. They were waiting on this cat to do things for them. So I'm just wondering where they're at. They both thoroughly surprised me in this episode. With their tenacity, resolve of how they were, because she's straight gangster. Like, she knew she was dead. She had done everything she could. She broke old boy's fingers. They threw her on the table, and I thought she was dead for real, but she was like, nah, I'm bit. And once she showed them that, and that took their attention away from her, she stabbed old boy neck with a meat cleaver.
And that was twice, you know what I'm saying, in that room alone, where she used the environment to her advantage.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because when he made a pass at her and everything along those lines, she leaned into it. You know what I'm saying? And now she's literally, she can't move. They've got her pinned down. This is it. It's over. It's done. And I'm infected. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And you see it, and we're going to kind of transition now, move, into this next episode. You see that trauma in basically the opening scene of episode 9 in the season finale. You know what I'm saying?
You gotta think about this. All right. If you got somebody in custody, right, and they come to you and they say, I'm infected. All right, let's just play the 90s, and we are hood dudes in the hood or whatever, and we got somebody, hemmed up, and they say, oh, I'm affected, right? And they bit E. I'm affected and I got AIDS or whatever. Do you sit around and do you really question it? Or you just kill them? Like if somebody bit me and they got the fungus and they bit me, right? Am I gonna sit there and question that you're infected or not? I'm just gonna kill you. I'm not going to question it, because if me question you, it's not going to do anything. It's not going to change anything. It's not going to save me. I'm just going to kill you. So you have to think about it that way.
And that's the mentality, man. Like, you know, I mean, that's a perfect segue into what we saw happen at the beginning of that next episode. You know what I'm saying? Because these two dudes were discussing the fact that she was infected and she just bit old boy. And James kind of paused, you know what I'm saying? Like there was a hesitation there. And that hesitation wound up leading to her being able to escape. When you start into episode 9, now you have this clearly pregnant woman who played by Ashley Johnson, who's actually the voice actor for Ellie, which is kind of dope because we find out later on this is Ellie's mom. So the individual who gave birth to her in the video games is the one who gave birth to her in the show. That was kind of dope. Underneath a tree on
she played Ellie in the video game. She didn't give birth to her. That she was
Ellie. She gave birth to her in the show.
In the show.
Yeah, she wound up being her mom. You know what I'm saying? So, but the whole scene where she's basically going to this safe house. She gets into the safe house. She gets into the room. She pulls out the knife that we find out after the fact is the knife that Ellie actually carries on her. She has the infected come in, and while she's fighting with the infected, she gives birth. You know what I'm saying? And when she looks down to see her child, you talk about two opposite ends of the spectrum, man. Here's complete and total utter joy and love because I just gave birth to a child, and immediately I see a bite mark on the inside of my leg. You know what I'm saying? So the umbilical cord gets cut and everything like that. But Royce kind of going into what you were saying when Marlene shows up. She's like, here's my baby. I'm infected, this, that, and the third. You need to kill me. And at first, Marlene was like, I can't do it. She turns around, she bounces, she gives old boy Ellie, and she comes back in. And it's not a conversation. It's not anything to be discussed. It was nothing. It was she walked in with a straight up purpose, came in, aimed the gun, and pulled the trigger, and that was it. You know what I'm saying? So that's that difference in the mentality, man. She could have just very well left her there and let her go through that slow process of eventually changing. But she, in essence, had mercy on her so that she wouldn't have to have the problems, you know what I'm saying, to come along with it. And then you flash forward, and here you now have Ellie dealing with her trauma. She doesn't even hear Joel like calling her. You know what I'm saying? She's like literally in her own head. Joel now has basically that father figure. That is now his daughter for whatever intents and purposes.
For all intents and purposes, that is his daughter.
For when she goes in and says in the very beginning, you know what I'm saying? It's
cup down, son. Like, what ain't up for question is your inebriation. Put the cup down, dog. Like, what do we do? This dude slurring words, talk about Last of Us, but drunk, the 90s, getting bit by AIDS. And
what do you say? Shut
the fuck
I said all intents and purposes.
No, that's what you tried to say. What you said was for all the intents and purposes.
This dude is lit up.
This dude right. Said,
I'm not gonna say nothing the rest of the night. I'm just gonna stand. I'm just gonna sit here.
Glassy
I'm just gonna be quiet.
Looking at the pub, like, you been over there with the Italians too long, sipping wine.
I'm just gonna sit here and I'm just gonna be quiet. And I'm just gonna let y'all handle the rest of the discussion.
Like this in the 90s, I was tripping up and I was like going.
It's not furniture. It's a piece of shit.
Lillian.
A goody goo goo.
A goody goo goo. Shit.
So for all intents and purposes, man, like, you know, he's like at this point in time, he's like his whole demeanor has changed. In the very beginning, he looked at her literally as cargo. You know what I'm saying? And now, you know, the conversation that they actually have, where he actually explains to her that, you know, when they get into Salt Lake and they're coming up on the hospital area and, you know, you have all the medical tents and everything like that that's out there. He was explaining to her, you know, this is what happened after everything initially had happened when the outbreak first happened, and they thought that this was going to be, these didn't last very long. This is where I actually was, you know what I'm saying, after everything. And he tells her that he was the one that caused the scar, you know what I'm saying, that he has and everything, because he said to her, you know, I was the shooter. I was the one who attempted to take my own life, you know what I'm saying? And I froze. I hesitated. I flinched, and that's what caused this. And Ellie's sitting there understanding, you know what I'm saying, like what exactly it is that he's telling her. He's like, you know, like he tried to kill himself after his daughter passed away because he just couldn't deal with it. And when she says to him, time heals all wounds, and he said to her, it wasn't time.
It was her.
That's exactly it. It was her. And the look on her face at that point in time was, I think it was relief, because now she knows that after everything that she just had got, you know, finished doing with him in order to be able to get him back to health, there was a scene in that episode where she came down and she kind of like held his hand and he kind of grasped her hand, and I was like, all right, yeah, that switch is getting ready to happen. But when he told her flat out that it wasn't time, that was his way of basically telling her, you know, you're the reason why I go now. You're the reason, you're my reason, if you would. And so she's telling him bad jokes and everything along those lines, and all of a sudden flashbang comes in. He sees her getting taken and he gets knocked out. The whole next sequence, if you would, of events was probably my favorite thing that happened in this show this entire season. He finds out, you know what I'm saying, that, you know, Marlene's there, and that's where she says, kind of, you know, going back to what we had talked about beforehand, you know, how did you do it? How did you get her all the way from Boston to Salt Lake City? I lost so many men and this and that and so on and so forth. And he said flat out, it was her. It wasn't me, it was her. And he's like, you know, where is she? Can I see her? And they're like, they're prepping her for surgery. He's like, for what? And when she explains to him that, you know, the doctor seems to think that she was born with, you know, the cordyceps already in her system and everything along those lines, and that the only way for him to replicate it is for him to be able to, you know, go in there and replicate it. And Joel immediately knows what that means. He says it grows in the brain. You know what I'm saying?
Yo, that's in the brain.
Right. And immediately he's like, take her to me now. And as soon as he stands up, he catches a gun into the gut. You know what I'm saying? And Marlene's like, you know, I've known her since literally the day that she was born. This is hard for me too. Almost gives him a courtesy, because she said, of all the people that I didn't want to be in debt to, I didn't want to be in debt to you. And so because of that, it's take him to the highway, give him his bag, send him on his way. You know what I'm saying? And so at that point in time, man, Joel had the biggest hold my beer moment I've ever seen, you know what I'm saying, in a show like this. Walking down the steps, yo, he was just like, you know what, man, they're not going to. No, not my girl. And so boom, boom. And he just, I mean, everybody that he came in contact with, it was just him slowly but surely moving up the steps and moving into every different thing. And right before they started going down the steps, he actually, you know, took a quick peek at what floors everything was on. So he knew as soon as he made that decision, after walking down a couple flight of steps, he knew, I've got to fight my way up to whatever it was, the 5th or the 6th floor, in order to be able to get to her. So,
which confuses me. Like, how does he know that everything stayed the same through the apocalypse?
He doesn't.
Floor 1 could have been.
He doesn't, but.
And 6 could have been trauma, but now it's like we can't get up to the top floors because the elevators broke. So now everything, like, I don't understand like some of the stuff that happened in the show. Like, I had mad issues with a couple of things in the show. Like, why was the mom running through the woods pregnant by herself? Like, what group of people thought that was a good idea? Hey, shorty, meet me at this house. You got to get there pregnant and survive infected people. I had mad issues with that, but it was, you know, you have to introduce her somehow in the birth of Ellie, right? So you get that aspect of how she came to be, why she might be immune to the whole situation. And here we are. We know from the beginning she's been fighting, literally fighting infections off. They're trying to give you this aspect of, okay, what would you do? What are you willing to risk? Are you willing to risk humanity for your own stuff? Or like, what would you put on the line if it really counted on it? And the whole episode is about that. You see the lady running through the woods, like she's just trying to survive, mainly probably because she has a baby on the way. Like she's probably not as, you know, concerned about herself as to deliver this child. Because when she does, she's like, here, take baby and then handle your business. So We go from that, then you see Joel transforming from the UPS driver to, no, that's my kid, I'm taking her to daycare type of situation. So you're seeing people change in terms of how love affects your decision-making process. Before, he could care less because he didn't love her, but he's grown to love her, or grown to care about her, at least to the point where I'm going to do what I got to do to make sure she endures whatever's going on. But at the same time, it's like you mentioned, she was his healing grace. So he's already suffered decades of trauma. Like he's zoned out, he's gone, his soul is fractured, and now he's getting it back. And the minute he finds out your kid ain't gonna make it, he blanks out. It has nothing to do with humanity at that point. It has nothing to do with the greater good or other people or any of that. And how many of us really operate like that? So my question is, once we get past all the breakdown and the recap of the show, like asking like really philosophical questions, would you sacrifice your kid for humanity? I that's been a debate since the game's conclusion. What would you do? Was Joel correct? Did he make the right choice? And I don't know if I'm in a position to say I would sacrifice either one of mine for the world. I would like to think that I would do the right thing, but was Joel right? Or was he wrong? Should he have let her go? Because then
when you backed into that corner, what decision do you ultimately make?
What you gonna do? Because that's what this whole thing boils down to is, what are you gonna do when the chips really hit? What are you gonna do when your kid gets killed? What are you gonna do when you're hungry? What are you gonna do when there's no Purell? Like what is your function in life? And what are you gonna do when your whiskey glass is empty? Hopefully not drink on the podcast. So we're constantly asking ourselves these questions. And when you see him moving through the hospital like that, he's not thinking about the world. He could care less if me, you, and Royce had cordyceps.
It was the first time in the show that he legitimately had a selfish moment.
The whole thing is selfish. Like from the very beginning of this show, you see how we make selfish decisions based on love. And want to make it seem like, oh, it's because of love I did this, and like it was a great thing. But there are countless moments in this series where love was not a good thing, or didn't appear to be the good thing. So that hospital scene was crazy ill because he's moving very methodically, and whoever's in his way is going to die, except that little kid, and he's going to do whatever to get her out. Marlene, everybody catches it. And I knew that was coming. So I was kind of hoping that we would talk about it like right after, because I wanted to get your responses, both of you, on just those basic questions as fathers of girls. What are you doing? What's your take on that, E? Because I'm gonna ask you next one, which is sober up a little bit. But like, no, how would you do this?
This doesn't even like. He's a father, but he's a father to a young lady who's already passed. So he's taken on Ellie as, at this point, he's fighting his feelings as a father towards Ellie. He is fighting this in every bit. He's like, okay, so when he was in the town with his brother, he was passing off his responsibility to his brother. He's like, you got to get her here. I can't do it. I'm just going to walk away from it. Well, then he finally takes that responsibility. And then here, when he wakes up in the hospital and he sees, the lady that he knows, he's like, okay, we're safe. Okay, so where is she? And they're like, oh, they're prepping her for surgery. He's like, I need to see her. And they're like, oh, well, they're gonna get her, into surgery, and they're gonna get the cordyceps. And then he realizes, he's like, hey, the cordyceps, they infest in the brain. So you telling me you're gonna do a surgery on her brain? And then he's like, wait a minute, no, I'm not cool with that. And she tells him, well, this is something that we need to save the world. And he makes that decision as a father, which is not his biological daughter. He makes a decision that, hey, no, I'm not cool with that. And then when they walk him down, he just murks everybody.
But that's what I'm saying. What you gonna do?
He murks everybody. So to me, you have lost your biological daughter, but you have taken on another daughter figure, should I say. And to me, I'm with Joe. I'm murking everybody. I have grown to love this child. I've grown to protect this child. I've grown to give everything to this child. Not to mention that this child has saved me from dying. She had me sleeping on a dirty mattress, pumping me full of, penicillin, saving me. No, I'm saving this child. I'm murking everybody. Hey, be damned the whole
right, everybody,
the whole world,
the rest of the world. Be damned the rest of the world. We're gonna find another way, and that's exactly what Joel said. Joel said, "Be damned the rest of the society." I'm just saving Ellie, and we're gonna find another way to get this.
We're gonna go raise these sheep.
And that's what he does. And he literally works from. And I haven't played the game, but this is like the way they played it in the show was almost like you were in a video game. Let's say Division 2, the Summit, where you worked from one floor to the next floor to the next floor to the next floor. And he literally murked everybody from floor to floor until he got to Ellie and pretty much told them, hey, he popped the doctor in the head.
Doctor,
Hey,
doctor was like, you can't have her.
Doctor was like, you can't have
her.
I popped the doctor, and the nurse was like, he was like, oh, do you want to die like the doctor? Or you just want to move aside? So it's like you said, you're a father to a child, and this wasn't his biological child. This was a child that he just essentially took on, and he got to the point where he chose. He loved her. He chose to love her and take care of her over the fact of that she wasn't his biological child, and he literally went crazy and murked the whole hospital.
Well, and Marlene called him out on it because there was the scene in the, he winds up, getting her, and he picks her up and he takes her into the elevator, and they get down into, the parking garage, and Marlene's waiting there, you know what I'm saying? And she comes out of the darkness, and she's just like, I can't let you take her. We can find something else. We can get past this. We. And he's, holding her in his arms. He's like, yo, no, this is not going to happen. And so when she says what he's like, this is not going to happen. She was like, what would she want? And the look on his face tells you she would have sacrificed herself.
Yeah, he knows.
Because he told her, she told him during the episode, let's finish this. We've everything that we've done, everything that I've done, everything that's happened, all the different people, this, that, and the third. Because he tried to say, let's just go back to Tommy. Let's just go. Because he knew that there was a possibility that something like this could happen. And she was just like, no, we came all this way. We got to make it happen. And when Marlene calls him on his bullshit, you know what I'm saying? She's like, yo, what she would select. And you're still going to make this move basically for yourself.
That's why he lied.
And then the way that they kind of did that next sequence where now they're in the car and she wakes up and he's starting to tell her what happened, and then it flashes back. And then he's giving her more information that flashes back. You know what I'm saying? So I thought the way that they filmed the final portion, if you would, him telling her, and as a parent, man, like there are going to be times when you're going to lie to your kids because you can't really tell them the truth, man. Like there's certain things you just don't want to expose them to. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And exactly. I think Ellie picked up on his bullshit though. Like I think Ellie legitimately knew that was not the case. So when the car finally breaks down and they get to where they are, and he didn't just tell her that, oh, Raiders showed up and it took everything that we could in order to be able to get out of there. Was anybody hurt? Yes. Like there were certain aspects of it that she knew was true, but when he told her that, they've given up trying to find a cure, it was his way of trying to tell her all of this is over with. Done. It's you and me now. You know what I'm saying? And so the car finally breaks down. He tells her, it's a 5-mile hike and everything along those lines. They finally come over top of the hill, and that's where we kind of find out, she spilled a little bit of the beans as well. hey, remember I told you that it wasn't the first person that I had killed. And we find out that she did, in fact, stay with Riley that entire time in the mall. And when Riley did start to lose her mind, she wound up killing her. You know what I'm saying? And she gave him one last chance. Are you telling me the truth? And he did not hesitate. And he said, yes. And literally, man, the next, I was a little pissed when it first happened, but having watched it again, like, I like the way that they actually ended it at that point in time. Are you telling me the truth? He says, yes. She looks at the camera and says, okay. And it goes to black. You know what I'm saying? And that's literally how they ended the season itself. And I was just like, she's come to terms with the fact that she knows that he's lying to her. She knows it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But in a way, she's accepted the fact because of everything that they've been through. But I don't know, man. Like, I was very, very, I like this episode a lot because there was a lot of stuff that was opened up and there was a lot of doors left open for the second season. You know what I'm saying? And I got a feeling that in the second season, they're really going to kind of play off of their growing relationship. You know what I'm saying? Which ultimately will probably wind up leading us to have a scene that I'm not ready for. So I'll just leave it at that.
You'd have done the same thing?
I would have.
Back against the wall. Back against the wall in an apocalypse situation, and I'm supposed to give up the only person that I care about. I don't know if I could do it.
Yeah, I don't know if I could do it either. But Marlene brings up great points. Like, if she doesn't die today for the greater good, what are you subjecting her to? Like, what did you have to do to get this far? It couldn't have been easy. That's what she's concerned. Like, yo, how did you do this? So when she's saying, think about what you're doing here. You're going to take potentially the only hope we have and lie about the situation, but then she's going to potentially get murdered or infected or God knows even worse. Like, is that the better choice? He doesn't even consider that because in his mind, he's going to be there to protect her. Mind you, he's recovering from a stab in the gut. So I don't know if I can make that decision. And that's been, like I said, that's been the debate this entire time over this game is, did he do the right thing?
She's the only reason why he has to live. So if she's no longer alive, what does he have left? You know what I'm saying? He's lost so much. She brought him back to the world. And now I'm just supposed to hand her over for who? A bunch of people that I don't even know. And y'all don't even know if this is going to work. There's no 100% saying that this is in fact going to work. So
you don't look at it this way. God forbid, my daughter dies and he has his daughter and I'm with that. So am I supposed to let his daughter live or his daughter die and take care of the rest of the community? Or the same thing with Renee? My two nieces, they're the only two left. Am I supposed to let them die to take care of the world? No, you're not going to do that. You're going to take care of the people that you know. You're not going to take care of the unknowns of the world. You're going to take care of the people that you know. Be damned the rest of the society. I have two nieces. I have three nieces that I have to take care of. Those are the people that I know that I have to take care of. I'm not worried about the rest of the world. If they die, I die. And then I'm not worried about the rest of the society.
Right, it was pointless anyway.
I think that, the crazy part about it is that if that scene, where is she? She's in surgery, happened in episode 2 or 3, he'd have been like, all right, where's my stuff? I'm out of here. You know what I'm saying?
He'd have bounced.
That just lets you know that he has literally turned the corner. Because, like I said, we talked about it before. He considered her cargo. You're not your cargo to me. That's all you are. No, but I think that is the evolution of the character, though. You know what I'm saying? You have this individual who in the very first episode loses his daughter. Then you see him tossing kids into a burning pit. You know what I'm saying? And then he loses at that point in time his significant other. And he just every single turn, you know what I'm saying? He was met with issues, man. And now literally at the beginning of this episode, he literally says, time did not heal this. You did. Man. And
It's
now
like,
I'm just
yeah,
supposed
you
to
did.
give
Yeah.
you up for something that's
Yeah.
not 100%. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Last of Us fans, I don't care what side of y'all. If y'all are on humanity's side, bash me. I don't care. You're not taking it from me. If you do, you're going to pry her from my dead, cold fingers.
Yeah.
And that's actually what Joel has. Joel has literally been like, "Yo, you're not going to take Ellie. I don't give a damn. It is what it is."
But you're going to be the one in the game that pulls the trigger and shoots the doctor in the face. That has consequences that he didn't account for come the second game. It for multiple reasons, because he had to lie to her to even let that keep going. And
Right.
that already is a bad move. Like they don't. I'm saying after the deli meat chopping of the face, like
The deli meat.
it's a different situation with them, because you'll see it turns into almost like, you know, normal everyday stuff where you kind of lose touch with your kids for a second because they're doing other things, and you know they're hanging out with different people and the interests start to change, and you kind of feel like, hey, let's go hang out, let's go get something to eat, or let's go fishing, or let's whatever. And it's not the same. It's not to say, oh, I'll go with you, Dad. Now it's all right, I'll go with you. It shifts. The relationship shifts from her being cargo, they develop in the relationship where now they're close, and then now he's in the way now.
Because she's living an everyday lifestyle of a teenager.
Right. So now
in the apocalypse.
Right. He's in the way. He's a problem. And it's not so much that just he's around. It's because she knows deep down he lied to her.
Mm-hmm.
Just think
So
about
she can't trust what he's saying.
She can't believe what he's saying. Like when you said it, she concedes to his truth, even though she knows that it's whack. She knows that it's not valid. So she's like, okay, I'm just not gonna argue with you no more. But I know this is some bullshit. And you, for the rest of their time together, you see the struggle in that relationship where before he was like, yeah, I don't like you, you're cargo. She was still attached because he was dead ass, like telling her the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And a lot of that was like, I don't even know if that was really fully truth. I think that was more so, I gotta protect myself because I've had extreme trauma. You know,
well, up until that point, man, he has not done anything with her other than tell her the truth. You know what I'm saying?
Correct.
And it would, when there was something that was brought up in regards to a truth being told that he was uncomfortable with, he was just like, don't say Tessa's name again. You don't talk about Sarah. You know what I'm saying? Because he was protecting himself. When he started opening up in this episode, all the guards went down. All the walls that were up were crumbled and done when it come to the two of them. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, as a parent, are you going to sit there and tell me whether, and you know what, man, I'll flip the whole script on you guys. It's me and one of my players.
Mm-hmm.
And we're survivors of the apocalypse. I have this is here.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Take this individual, and that relationship that you actually forge just because of all the shit that you guys are going through together, you know what I'm saying? And what is essentially the end of the world, you know what I'm saying? And the travels that you have with one another, and to get to that point where you are now the sole reason why I have a reason to get up every single morning and continue to fight. And now it's this could save humanity. This could be the reason why, you know what I'm saying, we're able to prevent people from getting infected. This could be what we've been waiting for. And again, man, like I said, you know, Last of Us, if you guys are, you know, fans, if y'all are on the side of humanity as far as the video game is concerned, and if I'm taking the side of Joel and you're mad, I'm sorry, you're just gonna have to be pissed, because I'm not gonna give up the last. They're my lighthouse on a stormy water. You know what I'm saying? How in the world am I gonna give that up? The only thing that is gonna get me to where I need to be is taken from me. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you're driving blind at that point in time. I mean, the last time that the one thing that he had to live for was taken from him, he tried to kill himself.
But this is what I'm saying. I think if people are honestly, if they're honestly answering that question, we'd all be Joel. Like, I don't know. This is, in this day and age, everybody's freaking at a verge of like extreme selfishness. I don't think anybody in that extreme situation is going to be like, all right, let me think about population. We can't even agree on basic stuff. Never mind the survival of the human race. So
exactly.
I don't want to hear anybody shenanigans. When y'all like, yeah, put it in the comments. Yeah, don't tell me shit, because I know if it really goes down, you're gonna fold. Most people fold under extreme pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Never mind if you got to take something that's dear to their heart. Nah, ain't nobody doing that unless you're like a weirdo. Like, but no.
Yeah. Are you gonna take somebody that you've been rolling with for the past couple of months?
No.
And sacrifice them for the good of humanity? You can't say that you're gonna do that.
Yeah, if somebody said, yo, you got to kill Royce or Eric so everybody can live, I'm like, F everybody. Them jugglers are not with me.
And it's not even a guarantee.
Right.
You know?
Even
Right.
it can be 100% without a shadow of a doubt, like zero error. If you kill these two dudes, everything is going to be peachy keen. I'm like, all right, well, we're just all going to be in purgatory then, because I ain't killing these cats.
Yeah, it's like you can't take it. You know, it's not like the dude Joel was sitting there and he was like, "Yo, is this guaranteed? Like, you got to get these cordyceps out of her brain." And they were like, "I don't know." And he's like, "No, I can't deal with it. I can't deal with it."
I admire Marlene that she could even make that decision. It would be like me being, because I was in the hospital for all y'all births and stuff. So it would be like, yo, take Nick, Caitlin, or, you know, Lily and kill me and then watch over them. And then I got to make a decision years later about taking them out. Like, no, I'm not doing that. That's not going to happen. The fact that she went in, like you said, with a purpose and handled her business was definitely mercy. Yeah, that was mercy. Now that I would do if I saw, okay, these dudes are about to suffer or cause other suffering. Yeah, I might put it between your eyes, like, wow, like it's over. But that's not a malicious maneuver. That is, I'm gonna honor my friend and let that person rest in peace, and then I'm gonna honor the friendship and take care of their kid. I'm like, I couldn't have been Marlene. So I admire that whole, I don't know if it's real, but that resolve to, yeah, that's like my niece and she's just gonna have to go for everybody. That's a different type of individual that I don't know if people in this day and age would do that.
But you know what, man? I'm not thinking about the whole Marlene thing. I can't necessarily say that she looked at Ellie that way, because the first time that Ellie and Marlene had an interaction on the show together, Ellie was locked up in shackles at Marlene's. She's the one who told them to do it. You know what I'm saying? So,
but I don't know if that's
even before that, when she was born.
No, but what I'm saying, right? I think that was
before before I was bitten. Like, her mom stressed that before I was bitten. You know, like that's, if she would have said, yeah, you know, I got bit and then the baby was born and then I cut the umbilical cord, she'd have put a bullet in both of those heads.
Well, she knows.
She knows that. She struggled with the fact of taking Ellie from
in the beginning.
Ellie's
I can't do
mom. Yeah, she struggled with that. But
the only reason she did it was because of history. Like, there had to have been like us.
I known you my whole life.
Right, I've known you forever. Don't let my kid die. So I think when she says yes, the baby was born before I was bitten, she kind of knows that Marlene would make that tough choice if she had to. So she's not stupid. So that's why she's lying. Like, people are doing stuff in this show to survive that has serious parallels to real life. What are you doing in your daily interaction as regular people that you kind of maneuver in and out of the shadows, and you do what you got to do? You look yourself in the mirror and be like, yo, it had to be done, which is the dope part of the game. Like, this game made you really ask yourself some questions as a game.
Yeah. Like, she didn't know. This was the first time was when Ellie was born that a mother was bit during birth, that the child was going to be immune to the fungus. Nobody knew that. So Marlene, like, taking the child, didn't know. And you know, when she took the child, she, you know, they probably watched her for days, weeks, to make sure she didn't change. So that was a whole nother aspect of life to be essential. It's not the game. I mean, this show is based off a game, but that was it's another essential of life that she had to take on. So that's something new. And then for her to come forward, 16 years, 15 years, however old Ellie is, and to be like, okay, she's the savior of the world, and now I saved this girl when her mother died giving birth to her. Essentially, I saved her, and now I've got to kill her to save humanity.
And we talked about this just on different stuff. Like, people are not making logical decisions about stuff. Marlene's very logical. She's not emotional about any of this at all. That's why I think Ellie's chained up. She knows Chick might have a cure to everything, but she also knows she's rebellious. She's prone to run. She's, she does her own thing. Like, she just ran away from the population she was with before. That's how they got her in the first place after the whole Riley situation. So she was like, nah, this kid is off the meat rack. I'm just going to chain her up to the radiator, and then we have to figure this out.
Well, and you have to kind of think from a timeline standpoint that portion of the show, as far as timing is concerned, had to have happened shortly after she had been bit and not changed. You know what I'm saying? So
it's like Roy said, they had to monitor her for probably to that point. Like, she still hasn't changed. She might have something that could help everybody.
What did Ellie do? Ellie put her hand up like this and says, "See, not shaking." You know what I'm saying? So I don't know, man. Like I said, the simple fact that this show has people asking that type of question. If your back's against the wall, what decision do you make? Do you make the one that's in a way selfish, or do you make the one that could potentially benefit the entirety of humanity? You know what I'm saying? And in this particular case, Joel said, to hell with all y'all.
That's what I'm saying about this whole show, because it parallels reality. Most people are out for their own benefit, period. People can say that Hallmark crap all day they want to. I'm almost 100% convinced that if it gets down to it, you're going to pick you.
You're going to be selfish. I mean, it's if my daughter passed away and then I was tasked with raising my nieces, Renee, Eric, my girls, if that was the case, I'm sorry. If they told me, hey,
not doing it.
Your girls are going to save the world. You know what? F you. These girls are with me. I was, hey, Eric died, Renee died. They told me take care of the girls. That's my last dying decree that I gave them. I'm going to take care of my nieces. Oh well, we're going to find another way to.
Yeah, we got to find something else. But like you said, it's not even guaranteed. We don't even know.
It's not. Yeah. And that's what I said. She's like, Marlene's like, we don't know if it's really going to work, but we're going to dig into her head and we're going to dig out these fungus. Yeah. We're going to dig into her brain and we're going to dig out the fungus and we might just come up with the option to save humanity. No, it doesn't work that way. Mm-mm.
And they don't even have the facilities to mass produce a cure anyway. Like, where was that going to come from?
I'm not going to sit there and lie to you, man. I've been waiting for you to bring that up.
Where'd the lights come from? They're walking to the house. He's walking to the hospital.
Right.
Where'd the lights come from?
Where'd the anesthesia come from? You mean to tell me this whole time for 20 years people haven't been lit on anesthesia? I'd be sleep out of it the entire time, yo. I don't understand some parts of this show.
See, y'all are looking at all the wrong. Hold on, y'all.
And the lights are on.
Y'all are asking all the wrong questions, man. We know that they can hook up generators in order to be able to get the lights on. They established that with the whole mall scene. But wait, no. Ready? Here's the deal. You ready for this? How blunt are the instruments they're getting ready to try and cut into her with? And on that note, that is going to bring us to the end of our season recap of The Last of Us, man. All in all, man, I thought that the show was fantastic. I mean, I can't wait to see what they're going to do with season 2. But to be honest with you, man, what they did with season 1, the conversations that you can have, it's one of the better shows that I've seen in a while. HBO puts out pretty good content, man, and they knocked it out of the park with this one. So that's kind of my take on it. So we want to thank you guys for joining us. As always, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button so that you know when we post our videos, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it over, even though he hates doing it, to my man, the hype man. Yes, sir. Give me it, Ren.
You
Hit
already
us with the
know.
socials.
I already told you once. I told you twice. I told you 3 times. You better follow your boys, the favorite guys. Yes, your homies. Follow us. Instagram, Twitter, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, the Homie Trinity Podcast. If you haven't subscribed yet, I have no idea what you're doing with your life. You need to reevaluate things. We're the guys you need to follow. All right? Make it happen. Stop playing.
Thank y'all, man, for joining us, man. We'll see y'all next time, man. Peace.
Peace.